small village where physical attributes often define a person's worth in the eyes of the community. Bala, a young girl who is noticeably shorter than her tall siblings. Her family, known for their height and strength, sees her as an outlier and often treats her with indifference. Bala grows up in a family where height is celebrated, and her shorter stature makes her feel invisible among her towering siblings. Her brothers and sisters are admired for their physical prowess, while Bala is often overlooked and underestimated. Despite this, Bala has a heart full of resilience and a mind that is as sharp as a blade. What her family doesn't know is that Bala possesses a special gift, an innate connection to the land and nature. She has the ability to communicate with animals and plants, a talent she has owned in secret, fearing ridicule from her family. She spends her days in the forest, befriending the creatures and learning the ways of the natural world. One year, the village is struck by a severe drought, and the crops begin to fail. The tall, strong siblings are powerless against the forces of nature, and the villagers grow desperate. The elders seek a solution, but none of the traditional methods work. As the situation worsens, Bala knows it's time to step forward. Bala, though small in stature, has always been fascinated by the world around her. While her siblings focused on physical activities, Bala spent her time learning from the village elders, reading old manuscripts, and observing the natural patterns of the environment. She noticed things that others didn't: the way certain animals behaved before a storm, how the winds shifted before the rains, and how the clouds gathered over specific parts of the landscape. When the drought hits the village, Bala recalls something she learned from an old story she read in a forgotten book about how certain plants, when planted in large numbers, could attract moisture and bring rain. The book described a method called cloud seeding, where certain elements could encourage clouds to form and rain to fall. Though the story was ancient and somewhat mythological, Bala was intrigued by the idea. With the drought worsening, Bala proposes her idea to the village elders. They laugh at first, dismissing her suggestion as childish nonsense. But with nothing else working, and with desperation growing, they finally agree to let her try. Bala gathers seeds of a specific plant known to thrive in dry conditions and have deep roots that reach underground water sources. She enlists the help of the children and women of the village to plant these seeds in a large area of land that has always been dry but was sacred to the ancestors. As the plants begin to grow, they release moisture into the air, and the ground's temperature begins to change slightly. Bala also instructs the villagers to create large bonfires at night in specific patterns, mimicking the old rituals she read about, not to summon spirits, but to create the right atmospheric conditions for cloud formation. Days turn into weeks, and slowly, the skies begin to darken with clouds. The villagers are astonished as the clouds grow heavier, and one day, they finally burst, releasing a torrential downpour that soaks the parched land. Bala's method, rooted in both ancient knowledge and her keen observations of nature, saves the village. Her family and the villagers come to see that her small stature belied a mind of great wisdom and creativity. They realize that while they had overlooked her because of her height, her contributions were far more significant than they could have ever imagined. As the rains continue to nourish the land, Bala's reputation as the savior of the village spreads far and wide. Her once dismissive siblings now feel the sting of regret and envy, realizing that their height and physical prowess pale in comparison to the remarkable impact Bala has made. Word of her wisdom and bravery reaches beyond her village to a neighboring one, where a tall, rich, and handsome man named Kamau hears of her deeds. Kamau, a respected and influential figure, is intrigued by the tale of the small girl who saved an entire community. Unlike many others, Kamau is drawn not just by her beauty but by her intelligence, courage, and the strength of her character. Kamau visits Mbala's village under the pretense of seeking advice for his own crops, but his real intention is to meet the woman who has captured his interest. When he finally meets Mbala, he is struck by her quiet confidence and the warmth in her eyes. Their conversations are easy, filled with mutual respect and admiration. Before long, Kamau asks for Mbala's hand in marriage. Mbala is hesitant at first, fearing the judgment that might come from his family and the villagers who valued height and beauty. But Kamau reassures her that he values her for who she is, not for what others think she should be. Their wedding is a grand affair, but it is not without its share of whispers and discontent. Mbala's tall siblings, still unmarried, watch with envy as their shorter sister marries a man of such high status. They had always believed they were destined for greatness due to their looks, but now they see Mbala living the life they had dreamed of. After the wedding, Mbala and Kamau settle into a comfortable life in his village. But when her siblings come to visit, they act strangely fawning over Kamau, making bad remarks about Mbala's appearance and trying to subtly undermine her in front of him. They can't hide their jealousy, and their bitterness poisons their interactions with their sister. Meanwhile, the villagers in Kamau's village are puzzled by his choice of bride. They had always assumed he would marry one of the tall, beautiful women from their own community. Gossip spreads quickly, with people wondering aloud why Kamau would choose someone so different from what they expected. They discourage others from associating with Mbala, citing her height as a flaw and lamenting that Kamau could have done better. Mbala feels the sting of their judgment, but she remains steadfast, knowing that her worth isn't tied to her appearance. Kamau, ever supportive, stands by her, openly defending her in front of the villagers. He speaks of her wisdom, her kindness, and her inner strength, reminding everyone that it was Mbala who brought rain to their land and prosperity to their people. As time goes on, the villagers begin to see that Mbala's influence on Kamau has been nothing but positive. The crops flourish under her guidance, and Kamau's household prospers. Slowly, the gossip dies down, and those who once criticized their union come to admire Mbala for her contributions to the community. Though Mbala had been overlooked and even despised by her parents and siblings for much of her life, her success after marrying Kamau began to change everything. As her reputation grew, so did her influence, and soon she found herself in a position to help her family in ways they never imagined. Mbala's intelligence and resourcefulness brought prosperity not just to her husband's village, but also to her own family. With her knowledge of farming and her ability to secure new opportunities, she helped her parents expand their modest farm into a thriving enterprise. They began to harvest more than they ever had before, and their status in the village improved. They moved from being a middle-class family to becoming one of the most respected households in the area, all thanks to Mbala's efforts. Her siblings, too, benefited from her wisdom. Though they had envied her at first, they couldn't deny the positive changes she brought into their lives. Mbala ensured they received proper education and guidance, which led to new opportunities for them as well. With time, they realized how unfairly they had treated her and how much they owed her for their improved circumstances. Seeing the transformation in their lives, Mbala's parents and siblings were filled with a deep sense of guilt for the way they had treated her. They decided to plan a family gathering, inviting Mbala and Kamau to a feast in their honor. This was not just a celebration of their newfound prosperity, but also an opportunity to make amends. At the gathering, surrounded by all the relatives, Mbala's parents tearfully asked for her forgiveness. Her father, who had been the most dismissive of her, spoke first, admitting that he had been blind to her true worth. Her mother, too, expressed her deep regret for not recognizing Mbala's potential and for allowing the family to treat her so poorly. Her siblings, one by one, apologized for their jealousy and envy, acknowledging that Mbala had always been the one who truly brought blessings into their lives. Bala, with a heart full of love and understanding, forgave them all. She knew that their actions had stemmed from ignorance and that they were truly repentant. In that moment of forgiveness, a new bond of unity and friendship was formed within the family. They realized that they were stronger together and that Bala had always been the key to their happiness. As time went on, Bala's siblings began to marry and start families of their own. Recognizing her wisdom and the strength of her marriage to Kamau, they all sought her advice before taking such an important step. Bala welcomed this role, offering guidance and support, ensuring that her siblings chose partners who would bring them joy and stability. This tradition of seeking Bala's blessing before marriage strengthened the bond among the siblings. They no longer saw her as the different one, but rather as the leader and the heart of their family. The once fractured relationships were mended, and a new era of unity and mutual respect began. Bala's life with Kamau continued to be filled with love and joy. Their happiness reached new heights when Bala gave birth to twins, a boy and a girl. Kamau was overjoyed, seeing the birth of their twins as a sign that marrying Bala had brought him double blessings. He had always known that she was special, but the arrival of their children reinforced his belief that he was truly fortunate to have her as his wife. The entire family rejoiced at the news, with Bala's parents and siblings showering the twins with love and gifts. They saw the twins as a symbol of the blessings Bala had brought into their lives and were filled with pride and joy. Bala's parents, who had once overlooked her, now saw her as the greatest blessing in their lives, their first love among their children, and the one who carried the family's blessings. This newfound unity brought them closer than ever before, with Bala leading the way as the eldest and the wisest. After the birth of the twins, Bala and Kamau's life became even more fulfilling. The twins, a boy named Kibit and a girl named Wanjiru, grew up in a home filled with love, laughter, and wisdom. Bala, with her nurturing spirit and sharp mind, ensured that her children were raised with strong values, teaching them to be kind, resourceful, and appreciative of the world around them. Kamau, deeply proud of his family, became more influential in the community. His success in agriculture, largely due to Bala's innovative methods and knowledge, made him one of the wealthiest and most respected men in the region. Villagers from far and wide came to seek their advice, and the couple became known as the epitome of a prosperous marriage. Bala's family, once divided by jealousy and misunderstanding, continued to grow closer. Her siblings, who had married with Bala's blessings, found happiness in their own marriages. They often returned to her for advice on various matters, from parenting to managing their households, and Bala was always ready to help. The bond between them grew stronger with each visit, and their respect for her deepened. As her siblings' families grew, they began to see Bala's home as the center of the extended family. Family gatherings became regular events, where Bala and Kamau would host their siblings, their spouses, and their children. These gatherings were filled with joy, storytelling, and a deep sense of unity that had once seemed impossible. Bala's parents, who were now elderly, took great pride in seeing their children and grandchildren together, knowing that Bala had been the one to bring them all together. However, as with any family, they faced challenges. There were times when disagreements arose, especially as the extended family grew larger and more complex. Bala's siblings sometimes struggled with their own issues, and old resentments occasionally resurfaced. But Bala, with her wisdom, always found a way to mediate and bring peace back to the family. One of the biggest challenges came when a severe drought threatened the region again. This time, it wasn't just Bala's village, but the entire region that was affected. People began to panic, fearing a repeat of the hardships they had faced before. Bala, however, did not lose hope. She knew that the answer lay in the knowledge she had accumulated over the years. She gathered the villagers, including her own family, and taught them new techniques for water conservation, soil preservation, and crop diversification. She also introduced them to methods of creating artificial reservoirs to store rainwater during the wet season. Her ideas were innovative and ahead of their time, but the villagers trusted her completely. Under her guidance, the region was able to survive the drought with minimal losses. The people praised Bala, calling her a savior once again. Her family, in particular, was filled with admiration, knowing that they were blessed to have such a remarkable woman in their lives. As years passed, Bala and Kamau's children grew up to be just as wise and compassionate as their parents. Kibit and Wanjiru, who had inherited their mother's intelligence and their father's strength, took on leadership roles in the community. They continued their mother's work, helping to advance agricultural practices and improve the lives of the people in the region. Bala, now in her later years, became a revered elder in the community. People sought her counsel on everything from personal matters to communal decisions. Her home was a place of learning and wisdom, where young and old alike would come to sit with her and listen to her stories, advice, and teachings. Bala's legacy grew beyond her immediate family. The entire region benefited from her knowledge and foresight, and her name became synonymous with wisdom and strength. Her parents, who had once overlooked her, now saw her as their greatest pride. They often spoke of her to others, telling the story of how the smallest and most overlooked member of their family had become the greatest blessing of all. As Bala and Kamau grew older, the family decided to hold a grand celebration in their honor. It was not just a celebration of their lives, but also a tribute to the unity, love, and prosperity that Bala had brought to the entire family. Relatives from near and far, as well as villagers and leaders from surrounding areas, came to pay their respects. During the celebration, Bala's parents publicly thanked her for everything she had done for the family and the community. They spoke of how proud they were of her and how they had come to realize that she was the true carrier of their blessings. Her siblings echoed these sentiments, expressing their gratitude for her guidance and the happiness she had brought into their lives. Bala, with tears in her eyes, thanked her family in return. She spoke of forgiveness, love, and the importance of family unity. She reminded them that it was not just her alone, but all of them together that had made their lives what they were. She urged them to continue supporting one another and to cherish the bonds they had formed. The celebration was a joyous occasion, filled with music, dance, and laughter. It was a testament to the power of love, forgiveness, and the unbreakable bond of family. Bala and Kamau, surrounded by their children, grandchildren, and extended family, looked on with pride and contentment, knowing that they had built something truly special, a legacy that would endure for generations. Bala's life, once filled with hardship and rejection, had come full circle. She had turned her pain into strength, her wisdom into prosperity, and her forgiveness into unity. Her story became a guiding light for others, showing that no matter where you start, it is your actions, your heart, and your perseverance that determine your true worth.